I'm not sure what you did on Saturday, but let me tell you what Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota and the former vice presidential nominee for Kamala Harris, did. On Saturday morning, he was in South Carolina speaking to the fish fry that the congressman from South Carolina, Jim Clyburn, holds every year. He then got on a plane and flew across the country to go to Anaheim, California, where Saturday night he spoke at a gathering of several thousand California Democrats. Now, why would Tim Walz keep such an aggressive schedule in two states that he's not the governor of? That's right, folks. Tim Walz wants to run for president in 2028. And I can say without question, Tim Walz has been the single most aggressive person, both in terms of his travel schedule and in terms of what he's saying, of any of the potential 2028 candidates, which makes me want to talk about this. Does Tim Walz have a chance? Is there a constituency out there in the National Democratic Party for what Tim Walz is selling? I think the short answer to this, I'll give you a spoiler alert, I think the short answer is probably no. But let's go through what Walz has been doing and then why I get to that conclusion. So, Walz obviously is picked from relative obscurity by Kamala Harris in the fall of 2024 in this, this sprint campaign. She picks him to be VP. She picks him over Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, who I've said many times I think she should have picked. Walz is an initial early sensation on the campaign trail. Democrats love him. He's a football coach. He wears camo. He hunts. But it becomes clear during the course of the campaign that the Harris people don't really trust Walz. He had several stories that came out about exaggerations he made about his past. Like he was in Tiananmen Square during the face-off between students and the government. That actually wasn't the case. A bunch of resume inflation stuff. And for whatever reason, they don't really trust him. Walz has basically acknowledged that since the campaign. He said, they didn't really want me doing all that much, and I think I could have done much more. But I have said, written, talked about that I think Walz was a dud as a VP pick. I'm not suggesting that if Kamala Harris picked Josh Shapiro, she would have won. She wouldn't have won. Maybe she would have won Pennsylvania, but she would not have won, almost certainly. But Walz brought nothing to the ticket, in my opinion. I think that when the bright lights went on for Tim Walz, he wasn't really ready for it. The thing I always point people to, go watch the first 15 minutes of the debate, the vice presidential debate between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. Vance, whatever you think about him, looks comfortable, trained political performer. Walz looks like the guy in the movie Network who's in broadcast news, Albert Brooks, sweating, looks nervous, does not look good. So I'm skeptical of Walz from that. What's interesting to me is that Walz he got a taste of that national spotlight, and he is not going quietly into that good night. So he is up for re-election in 2026 in Minnesota. He has not announced whether he's going to run again or not. I'm guessing he's not going to run again because I think he wants to focus on running for president. Because if you look let's just call it from January 1 until now, so, a little less than 6 months, there has been no one more active on the campaign trail than Tim Walz, out there talking to people. He's in South Carolina. Yes, he's in California, but he's also been going to congressional districts, thank you, Thumb, that Donald Trump carried, and talking about the party and why the brand needs to change. And he's given a bunch of interviews where he's kind of thrown Kamala Harris under the bus for not utilizing him right. He is out there. He is making it clear that he is not just going to go back to Minnesota and run for re-election or not run for re-election and disappear. He does not want his 15 minutes to be over. Let me stop there and say that I want you to subscribe to this channel for one word and two definitions. The word is independent. Definition 1, I am independent of billionaire owners of legacy media and these corporate media conglomerates that own media companies. Just me bringing you my analysis. Second definition of independent, I'm independent from the two parties. I've been a journalist for 25 years. I worked at big places like the Washington Post and CNN. I'm now out on my own. I am calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I think that is more important now than ever before in this environment where partisan media is rising up. We need the center to hold. I'm trying to hold that center. So I hope you'll subscribe. Okay, so now why do I not think Walz is going to get there in the long run? let me first say, before I dump on Walz, I actually think that some of his messaging right now is pretty good. Like it speaks to where Democrats are. When he was in South Carolina, he said, we need to, quote, be a little meaner. I do think that there is a desire among Democratic, especially activists and rank and file, for their side to fight harder, right? To be tougher, to not back down, to not look weak and woke, okay? Walz, when he was in Anaheim, he's got some good quotes. I'll give him that. When he was in Anaheim on Saturday night, he said this: "They don't want to see us standing like a deer in the goddamn headlights, and there's a good reason for that. Nobody votes for roadkill." That's a good line. He also said, "There's an appetite out there across this country to govern with courage and competency, to call crap where it is, not to be afraid to make a mistake about things, but to show people who you truly are and that they don't have to wonder who the Democratic Party is." I actually think that messaging is right. Because I do think that the broad problem for Democrats right now are people do think they're too weak and too woke. They don't really know what Democrats stand for. They think they stand for like trans girls competing in girls sports or bathroom bills or, that sort of masking, those sorts of things, not sort of the core economic values that Democrats used to stand for. So I think Walz is right on that. I just don't think he's the right messenger. He has never struck me as the guy who really reeks of authenticity, right? Like who can really sell the camo and the hunting, who can really sell the football coach stuff. Like it felt a little over the top when Harris was trying to sell him to the country, that like, come on up here, coach. Like it was so aggressive to try to be like, look, here's a normal guy from the Midwest. He can talk just like you people. My thing is, it's not about that, right? It's not about like, hey, look, he's a white older guy who likes football and camo. Huh? Vote for him. To me, it's authenticity, authenticity, authenticity. And I just didn't get the vibe from Tim Walz during the course of that campaign that he was at core exactly who he was presenting as, right? He clearly took some very liberal positions when he was governor of Minnesota. Republicans in Minnesota do not like him. So this idea that he's like this moderate Midwestern guy never really sold to me. And I also just think two other things. One, I mentioned before, the bright lights went on. He did not seem like he was ready. Now, maybe in 2028, he will be ready, having gone through that gauntlet, but he did not seem like he was ready to me. And the other thing is, I don't know that the party, he's not a fresh face for the party anymore. He was in September 2024, but he's not anymore. Is this what the party wants? The guy who was the losing VP nominee, that they want him to be now the presidential nominee? I'm skeptical. So I guess I would say Walz is clearly positioning to run. Whether he runs or not, he is clearly trying to run. He's been the most active and aggressive of any of the potential 2028 candidates. And some of them, like Pete Buttigieg, Westmore, have been pretty active, but he's been more active than them. On message stuff, I actually think he's right. Democrats need fighters. They need to stand up a little bit more for what they believe and tell people what they believe. I just don't think he's the right messenger. Maybe the right message, but not the right messenger. So count me skeptical of Walz 2028, but I do think he is absolutely, judging from this weekend and everything he's done since the election, I think he is absolutely positioning himself to at least make a go for it. All right, everyone, a couple things. One, as I said earlier, please subscribe if you can. Support independent journalism, not owned or operated by big billionaires or big media companies. Second, like and comment on this video. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, helps my stuff get out to more people. We are almost to 100,000 subscribers. One other thing you can do to help build that, tell a friend. Just tell someone or a couple people who you know who like politics, this is what this guy is doing. I think you should check it out, and it's free. Just hit that subscribe button, and you are supporting independent journalism, calling balls and strikes, no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. Thanks. Take care.